Did zoom in a bit anyway.
Yeah, I mean, video usually does.
Alright.
You needed to write things out on paper.
Yes, and I have clipboards,
Okay.
which I will hand out shortly.
And I brought my own glasses.
Smart, because I did not bring reading glasses to my book reading, so that'll be fun. I'm sorry, remind me of what your name is? Okay. At some point, see the narrowest box on the end of the table?
Yes.
At some point when I ask you to, could you hand out clipboards? But I don't want people to have them yet. Here's a fun teacher fact. If you give people handouts in advance, instead of listening to you, they will read the handout. And I don't want them to do that. So I don't let people have them early. Here's a fun fact. I learned that teaching high school. And you know who's much worse at paying attention than high school students? Adults. Adults. I also can't give you guys detention, so that might figure into it. For a while I taught in a prison, and those students, very well behaved. Wish I had an armed guard at the back of every class. I actually loved teaching in high school. That was a great job.
What subject did you teach?
Math? When I taught high school, I taught math. At the prison, I taught everything. Like GED, everything. And more or less whatever somebody wanted to learn. Basically, I taught high school across the board. And then there was also an ESL teacher. I didn't do that. Like English as a second language. Anyway. Alright, so I know that pagan things don't start on time. So I think we're expecting some more people. I'm just going to sort of pitter-patter for a while. Welcome, everybody. My name is Sara Mastros. Today we're going to talk a little bit about my new book, Introduction to Witchcraft. Partway through our workshop, we will take a lovely commercial break, and I will Vanna White through all my books. But mostly what we're going to do today is we're going to... One of my goals in this book, the way I think about this book, so it's called Introduction to Witchcraft, 13 Lessons in the Practice of Magic. And one of the things we're doing here is I really thought, well, what if I start people in witch kindergarten? Because my goal in this book is that, look, first of all, let me say, I imagine most of the people in this room are not beginners, because that's not who shows up to these events.
True.
Right?
Yeah. True.
So, and I will also say, I've been teaching this course now for about a decade, and typically, easily half of the students have decades of practice under their belt, right? But I find, I've been practicing now for, depending how you count what starting is, I would say approximately 35 to 40 years at this. Yeah, I'm maybe a little older than I look. It's the witchcraft.
Nice.
The blood of the babies keeps me young. I'm old at heart, though, so don't worry. I've been old at heart the whole time, and real talk, it's kind of nice that my body's catching up, and also my peers are catching up. So now when I'm like, no, I do not want to hike up that mountain, what if we sat on these couches and got high? Other people are like, yeah, that sounds great. But 20 years ago, they were like, no, let's hike up a mountain. And I was like, have fun, guys. I'll be here when you get back. So I thought about this book. My biggest goal for this book was I want to teach fundamental skills, what I think of as the fundamental skills in magic broadly, but specifically from a witchcraft angle. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as people straggle in, right? But I really wanted to sort of give people fundamental skills that once you had them under your belt, you could feel confident walking into really any style of magic, right? Any kind of group. And have some kind of sense of what was going on, right? Obviously, I can't teach you everybody's everything. Don't worry, I'll try though, right? But those fundamental skills, because I often found that even people who'd been practicing for a long time seemed like they were sort of lacking things I thought of as fundamental skills, right? I've been teaching it for a long time. I talked to a lot of my colleagues about what they thought were fundamental skills, and I sort of built together a curriculum, right? So the curriculum is really designed to start you in witch kindergarten and build up through, right? And at the end, high school, and you're sort of prepared to move into undergraduate level magic in kind of any flavor, right? today we're going to play Witch Kindergarten,
Yay.
right? And so I know that I would imagine probably none of us here are beginners. I'm not going to make anybody out themselves if you are, right? But I find in magic, but also in anything else, when I like revisit fundamental skills with a like, I can't speak for other people, but I'll tell you guys that for me, magic is the only thing in my life that I never get jaded on. Every single time I'm like, holy shit, magic is real? That's amazing. Every time a spell works, it's like brand new all over again. And I really want to bring that to like the learning of it as well. Because, you know, I also write, I think I'm best known, truthfully, for like really quite technical books, right? So my book previous to this one is called The Sorcery of Solomon, A Guide to the 44 Planetary Pentacles. Brandon, you want to show off a red book? Thank you. Right? So this is my previous book before this one. People who know me, I think that's the one they know me from as of now. And it's like quite technical, but I'm very committed to like making complex technical things accessible. And I will say, in as much as I ever get complaints from colleagues, it's that what I consider introduction, what other people consider introductory witchcraft is perhaps what I consider chapters 1 and 2 of introductory magic, right? So we're going to dig into chapter 1 today. We're going to play Witch Kindergarten and really sort of think about childlike wonder as a magical trance, right? I believe that one of the fundamental skills that I think especially people who, look, I understand preaching to the choir because y'all show up, right? Like, but I think you guys know not everybody does, right? That there's a lot of people who learn magic sort of explicitly and really exclusively from like internet memes. And they seem to be missing really fundamental skills. And one of those fundamental skills is, I believe, perhaps the most fundamental skill in magic is like entering magical space-time consciousness, right? And that's really one of the things I'm going to talk about today, right? What do we mean by magical space-time consciousness, and what are ways to enter into it, right? And I'm, again, still perhaps stalling a little bit for people on pagan time, right?
They go for it. If
say
they
that
miss
again?
it, they miss it.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I'm going to do a lot of preamble and then move into some workshop stuff, guys, right? Because the thing is, I actually don't really want people coming in once I hand out materials and people are in kindergarten. I prefer people not coming because I'm a mean teacher who doesn't like right? So, right, we're going to talk about magical space-time consciousness and like the nature of trance, right? And the centrality of trance to the practice of magic, right? That when we are working magic, we have not exited like the mundane world, but rather we have brought into that mundane world, right, an additional level that is always there, but we're maybe not always paying attention. Like, even as magicians, we're not always paying attention to all that, because if we were, like, we'd never get the dishes washed, or we'd never do the bookkeeping, right? So we're going to really reframe ourselves into that magical space-time consciousness. And today, the one I want to talk about is childlike wonder, which I really think is so underrated in magic. I think so many people, honestly, especially beginners, take shit real serious in a way that perhaps misses the point. Like, it should be fun. I believe fun and joy and wonder are central to the practice of magic. Even fussy, stuck-up wizard in a tower, I do my magic in Hebrew and Greek, which I do. Like, I'm a fussy wizard who writes whole books about... My next book after this one is a new translation of a lost Hebrew manuscript of Solomonic Pentacles. Like, I'm fussy, right? But I also love to play, and I think that the natural human mode of learning is play, right? And so that's what I want to talk about today, right? So the magical trance we're going to enter into is childlike wonder, right? Which is the opposite of shame, right? I think that many of us, maybe not Wick, who's doing a good job with the play,
Well,
based on the outfit, right? Like, it's hard for us, we're like embarrassed to play in public, right? But that's what we're going to do together today. So we're going to spend the first 10 minutes, right, of this workshop getting into that space of childlike wonder, right? And so what I want you to do for the next 10 minutes, I do have enough clipboards. Can you hand out? I'm gonna, actually, let me do it. Because I'm gonna, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. I have some things for you, right? So everybody is going to need one clipboard, one box of colored pencils, one handout. You actually don't really need this one, but you should take it anyway, and one magic color book. So I'm going to ask everybody to come up and like get some supplies, right? And then sit back down, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do with our supplies. Are you okay? We can hold your arm. I would run some. You know what? I didn't actually do that.
Oh, really?
And then this is just like a safety pin that
Good, that's a nice spot. I was, but like for, yeah, it's, that's
Okay.
good. I'm really impressed with a lot of this. I haven't been there in a hot minute.
Okay. So while we do this, I'm going to keep talking a little bit, right? So what I want you guys to do is think about who you are as a 7-year-old, not who you were when you were 7. But like reverse Tom Hanks in the movie Big, like boop, now you're a 7-year-old. Boop, 7-year-old. Right? And really kind of find that character within you. Right? And I have made us a magic color book. So it's exciting. I think you guys are insufficiently excited. It's awesome, actually. This is actually only the first third of the magic color book, but I perhaps was originally too ambitious for what I could do in this book. Right? So we're going to play with our magic color book and really try and get into that childlike wonder space, right? And I'm going to maybe take a little bit of a poll. Would you guys rather I gave you 10 minutes to play with the book, or, 7-year-olds are not great on staying on topic, but I am going to require people to stay, like, in trance. So, you're not in kindergarten. So if you want to have a grown-up conversation, if you want to be on your phone, please leave, right? Because we're in kindergarten here, right? Which is child garden. I knew Wick would be on the same page. I saw you walk in with that hat, and I was like, that's my people, right? So would you guys rather I gave you time to play with the color book by yourself, or I can, like, kindergarten teacher walk us through it page by page?
Yeah.
You want me to go? Okay. So let me give a couple seconds for everybody to get settled. I believe, okay, so everybody should have a clipboard, a box of colored pencils, and this handout. And there's another handout that you can also have, and also free pencils with my advertising on them, right? So I'm going to remind you guys that this is a class on color magic. Like we're going to attain this trance, and then we're going to spend about an hour working on color magic. But just as a preface, I remind you, like, play with color, right? So you've got a whole bunch of colors to play with, a magic color book. Come on in, right? We're learning color magic. So over on that table, you will find some supplies. You're going to need a clipboard, a box of colored pencils, and this handout right here. Looks like this.
These come pre-sharp.
I honestly panicked for a second, imagining they might not. Like, it didn't even, the brand I buy does, but it didn't occur to me until I was here that they might not be sharpened. So.
Didn't even think about it until you mentioned that. We don't have pencil sharpeners. So that
Right, yes, well, my witch luck has held out. They are indeed sharpened. So we're going to play Magic Color Book. So what you missed is, right, what we're going to do for like 10 minutes, which, by the way, guys, is not enough time to get through this whole book. So you guys should take the book home. If you enjoy it, continue playing with it. If I actually will have extra copies, but also if you want to do it with your coven or whatever, if you email me, I will just send you a PDF and you can print as many as you like, right? There's actually another 15 pages of this that maybe I'll turn into like a real book. Okay, so, right, so we're going to play this, and we're, again, considering who you would be if the person you are now turned magically into a 7-year-old. Not who you were at 7, but like with all your learning and your witch blood and all your experience, but also 7, right? So try and find it in yourself, and also like pretend.
Age 7, so to speak.
Say that again.
Be aged 7.
Be age 7. I will say, I'm not going to explain why, but I think eventually, by the end of the lesson, you guys will understand. I'm not actually going to pretend to be a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old, but specifically a 7-year-old. Ah, you get me.
I got it.
Well, you saw some of this already. He's cheating. Right?
I'm just smart.
Okay, if anybody wants to, you could for sure like sit or lay on the floor and play with your color book.
Okay.
But I know my 47-year-old knees are not 7-year-old knees anymore, right? So this is my magic color book, right? A make-believe grimoire for children and people who used to be children. Do not bring reading glasses. Hi, my name is Sophia, and I am 6 3/4 years old. Please do not call me Sophie, because that is not my name. Names are important because they tell you who people are. So let's go around the room and everybody say your name.
Chance. Matt.
Vito.
Frankie. Carol.
Brandon.
Jonathan.
Omar.
Wick. Jackie.
Brett.
2 Jackies. Uh-oh, okay. Right? And can you draw a picture of yourself next to me? And just as a heads up, guys, I'm only going to give you 2 minutes to draw that picture. So try and draw a picture of yourself. Again, yourself as a 7-year-old. Not you when you were 7. Anything else? Right? And I really encourage you to, in that drawing, try and manifest yourself as the most amazing, badass 7-year-old witch you can imagine. Which, like, Wick is 1 point.
Living the life.
I saw you walking up the sidewalk as we got here.
I'm so happy we were like wearing the same pants and
I
everything.
know, we did not plan.
Predestined.
You took your hat off, though, so it's not as
So I kept
on
following
point.
it. I'll put it back.
I understand mine is mine. Right?
I did a drawing by a caricature myself here.
I mean, as you can tell from this book, I'm not very good at drawing either.
I do. You're so cute.
Well, I spent... Here's the thing, guys. You know how I'm going to give you 2 minutes? I think I spent an hour and a half on this not very good picture. Right? So again, and think about, my child witch, her name's not Sarah. Her name's Sophia. Right? So think about also, like, what your magic child witch name might be. But I'm not going to make you tell me that. It's a secret name. We're going to learn more about secret names later. You guys are too cool for school.
We did this before. I'm just gonna do the same thing again.
You're doing it right.
Oh no, I broke my first pencil.
Well, we, as previously discussed, have perhaps some very large, fancy knives, but no pencil sharpeners.
You can machete those.
But here's what I would say, I actually have tons of, there's plenty of extra colored pencils, so you could go grab another box if you want. Like, if that's a color that you're sad to not have.
Oh, actually, I might have a pencil sharpener. So if anyone does need it.
But again, there's extra colored pencils also. As, I believe, 25 people RSVP'd.
I suppose this is me, maybe it is me now. Yeah. I think you just do the second part. You are channeling that age. Okay. Of course.
throw this out there. I don't know what kindergarten you guys went to, but y'all can talk.
I
We're
went to a
playing,
Catholic
having
school.
fun. Well, I want to be like, I'm not a nun and I won't hit you with a stick, but I am a nun and I might hit you with a stick. Hello and welcome. We are all good. We're playing Which Kindergarten? You're going to need some supplies. So over there on the table, you're going to need a clipboard, a box of colored pencils, and this handout looks like this.
Wonderful, thank you.
You can take the other handout too. Technically, you don't really need that. Oh, and what's your name?
Josh.
All right, I'm Sarah, and you missed learning everybody else's name.
We'll figure it out.
You're going to hear him again, I think.
Immersive experience.
So I'm going to just catch Josh up while everybody can change the color. So today for this part of the workshop, we are working on attaining childlike wonder as a magical trance. So your current job is to imagine yourself as a 7-year-old. Not who you were when you were 7, but like if I'm a witch and I turn you into a 7-year-old, what is that like, right? And we are playing with this magic book, and we are on this page right here, drawing a picture of ourselves. So you actually haven't missed very much at all. We're on
Thank you
page
for catching me up. I appreciate it, Sarah.
You are very welcome. And you've got about 1 more minute. You and everybody else. And I'm just going to walk around and look, but if you guys don't want to show me, that's okay. But I'm just nosy. And I want to meet our kindergarten.
Hey, you said we turn into a 7-year-old from now. I gotta keep those skills.
Good job.
So many good artists in this room.
Wonderful. And just a reminder again, guys, that this is a class on color magic, so really, like, intentionally think about the colors you're using. Because this is not just an exercise to, like, get you into that 7-year-old mode. We are creating a magical construct in this book. Spoiler. Right? So, really, like, be intentional with your use of color and also everything else. I know that, I'm going to be a grown-up for a second. I know that many people will tell you that intention is the only thing that matters in magic. Not only do I believe that to be false, I actually think intention matters very little. What matters is attention, right? So magic follows your attention. So really try and pour yourself into what we're doing today. I'm going to move on to the next page, but again, you guys get to take these home and play more. So again, my name is Sophia, and I am 6 3/4 years old. We're talking about names and why they're so important, especially in magic. Sophia is spelled S-O-F-I-A. S makes a s noise like a snake. In my name, the O goes O, like a ghost. The F, flowers don't talk out loud, but they do sound like when the wind goes through them. In my name, the I goes like in Sophia, because I means me. And the A at the end goes like a vampire. Do you know how to write your name? What are the sounds and letters in it? Can you draw the letters as the sounds to help me remember them? And if you would like an advanced exercise in make-believe, for perhaps more advanced make-believers, make every letter a picture of a creature that makes the sound of the letter, like Sophia did, But I'm gonna tell you, that's hard. I low-key changed her name from being a PH to an F because I could not explain to a kindergartner how a PH makes an F sound. Right? So I think actually we're going to skip this one, if you guys don't mind, because I just want to keep us moving a little bit. Right? I mean, no, I told you and then I should come back. My mom says that my name, Sophia, means wisdom, which is when you are wise. Being wise is like being very smart and kind and knowing about stuff. And most important is about being wise is always knowing what is right to do when there is a problem. My mom says she picked my name for me so I would be wise, and I think I am. Do you know the story of how you got your name? Does anybody want to share a story about your name?
My great-grandfather, his middle name was Britt.
That's a good one. So for your ancestors, lots of people are named after ancestors.
My grandma's maiden name was Wickham, so it was sort of a...
Right, ancestors are very important. We are not talking so very much about ancestors today, but I'll tell you guys a secret. My next book is about the dead. But we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, right.
Well, you already did that. Right? Anybody else want to share?
So mine is kind of interesting. So it's Frankie Lee. Frank means truth. And other than that, I was actually adopted, and his name was Frank.
Oh.
So in case I forgot his name, it was helpful to have a name that was very close to his.
That is lovely.
So even though I kind of had a name already, I was kind of like, I have a name, but I just got renamed, so it's an interesting...
I think a lot of us get new names, right? So sometimes people pick their own names. Sometimes they get, in my tradition, we get a new name when we're initiated. Names are really important, right? So you get to have more than one. Anybody else want to share? Some names are secret names. Secret names are names you cannot write down, and you must not say out loud, and you can only think them in your mind and feel them in your heart. I have a magic friend, and she has a name, but her name is a secret. So I will just call her Magic Friend. She is very smart and funny and good and kind and wise, and she is my very best friend. Do you have a magic friend? Do you want to? Draw a picture of a magic friend. But remember, magic friends have secret names that you must not ever write down and must not ever tell. You think them in your heart and feel them in your mind. My magic friend is a rabbit and also a nun. But a rabbit nun, not like a Christian nun, because obviously rabbits.
So it's a rabbit in a habit?
Thank you for noticing. Saint Hopagard of Bingen is not her name, but sometimes I call her that.
That's adorable. Should it be St. Hopagard and Bungen? Yeah. No? Okay. That's fine.
One thing that I like to think about when I draw pictures of, I don't know from your Magic Friend, but Magic Friend does not actually have a body. So sometimes she looks ways and sometimes she looks other ways. And when we draw pictures for them, we give our Magic Friend a body that they can live in because they do not have one of their own. So we here.
On my hair.
So we have extra color pencils. So if they break, because somebody bought cheap colored pencils.
Come on. Like,
Okay.
I know, but like, right? We have plenty of extra. Because I will say that for this class, you are, by the end of this workshop, going to need all the colors. You're not. You're going to need most of the colors.
Okay.
If you already have a magic friend, you can draw them, but you could also draw a friend that you don't know yet, and we can make believe them real. That's what we're learning in magic class today, is how to make believe things real. Which is the essence of magic. To make false things true. So I know that I am not giving you guys enough time to draw a whole magic friend. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. So draw like a skeleton of a magic friend. You could draw their boneses, but I meant to draw, you know, like a picture to remind you of a picture you drew. A sketch, our artist friends might say. I'm going to read to you a little bit more, but you can keep drawing. I also have, so magic friend is, I didn't make her. She came to me. But I also have a magic friend I make believed real, who is a magic book. I write stories and dreams and spells and secrets and draw all kinds of pictures in magic books. Sometimes I put things in my magic book, like special leaves and feathers and things I find out in nature. Do you have a magic book? I know Wick has a magic book because I saw it.
I love the tree of life right there, too.
Thank you. Here's a little Easter egg for you. Look at the leaf.
Are we on this page?
We are on that page. But there's nothing to draw. Okay. So we're going to stop drawing Magic Friend, and now we're going to think about Magic Book. This book that you are holding in your hands right now could be a magic book if you want. All you have to do is hold it close to your heart and make a wish out loud, but somewhere where no human being can hear you. So you can't do it here, but you will think about it, but you have to go home and do it, right? Say things out loud where no other human being can hear you. That's good for magic, right? No human being. Not other human beings. Like, you can't be a human being either. You have to be a witch. You understand?
Magic friend can hear it?
Magic friend can hear it as long as they're not a human being. Like, I also have magic friends who are human beings, but they do not count for this. You know. So, you make the wish out loud, but somewhere where no human being can hear you. So we're going to practice saying some magic words, but they don't count now. So you can think about whether you want to say them later. It goes like this. Book of paper, glue, and thread. Be brave, wake up, and be my friend. I write in your pages, and you speak in my head. Magic book, I am your friend. For now and later, until the end. And then before you take a nap or you go to sleep, tell Magic Book your name by thinking it in your mind and feeling it in your heart, but don't say it out loud. Your magic name, your real name, whatever that is, your realest, really real name. And then listen as hard as you can to see if Magic Book is thinking and feeling their name to you. But Magic Book probably doesn't have a name of their own because they're not really real until you make believe them real. Right? It's a difference. Like Magic Book is a different kind of a magic friend that you make believe real. So you might have to give them a name because most of the time our names, they're gifts that someone else gave to us. Some people name themselves. My friend Chance named themselves. But most names we get from outside. A Magic Book probably doesn't have a name yet. You'll probably have to give it one. But think and listen and feel with your heart. And maybe it does. Right? Maybe when you sleep, you and Magic Book could visit each other in your dreams. Chapter 11. Right? So if you read chapter 11. And in the morning, after you have a dream, even if you don't remember the dream, it's okay. But in the morning when you wake up, or in the afternoon when you wake up from your nap, right? Write a story or draw a picture about what you dreamed. And if you don't remember, you'll have to make believe real a dream. But write something after the ritual. And then we're going to look at this last page. And now we're going to start to level up a little bit into Magic High School. Right? So I've got some questions for you guys. I want you to read this last page. I want you to pull it out of the Magic Book. And I want you to guess, well not guess, I want you to tell me how you would work the magic on this page. It's not a guessing game. There's not a right answer. Like, I know what I would do with it, but I want to hear what everybody would do with this page. And why this page exists.
So do you mean like finish but now we've come to, or do you mean like how we would go through the process of like doing this?
Yes, I mean all those things.
Okay.
I would like to hear your thoughts about this page, with the understanding that, even though we played it as a 7-year-old, I am an internationally recognized sorceress who writes magic books for a living, and I wrote this one, and it's pretty good. So think about, really understand that if what I said is real, that this can be a magic book who is a living spirit that can teach you magic. How might that work?
I do feel like this could be a really cool page, just kind of like taking everything that we've put together in here, all the coloring, all of like the names, ideas, like all that stuff, and using this page kind of as like the final seal on top of it, to kind of be able to culminate it together, finish the incantation, and then use that to manifest it.
Agree. I really like the idea of a final seal. Why do you think, Wick or anybody else, I had you pull this page out?
So it could be put in another book.
Right, so you can put an entire ream of paper between the beginning of your book and the final seal of your book. Right? Like you can make a big magic book. I will say, if it was me, I would recopy this entire book in my own hand rather than use the printouts. But I also make students copy my book, like grimoires by hand to learn, because I'm an old-timey witch. Well, I'll tell you, in olden times, that is how we did it. Like, I was also, as an initiate, I had to copy the whole grimoire out by hand.
It's still in practice, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'll tell you, some students, it's a bit of a weeding out process if you don't want to write a magic book.
Make them
don't
do
want
it in cursive.
Let me also, I'm going to mention something. I think this is changing in interesting ways since like the, 30, 40 years I've been doing this. When I got in, most Anglophone witches, so most American-born witches, but also English-speaking witches elsewhere in the world, most of us started off learning magic from books. And that gives your magic, it gives this notion that perhaps magic is a quite bookish affair. And I love books. I'm a book nerd, and we're in a bookstore right now. But I do want to remind you that for the overwhelming majority of history, and still today in the world, most witches are illiterate. Like, writing is amazing, and I love book magic. But the way that our culture teaches magic only from books gives this idea that, like, only bookish people get to be magicians. That being a wizard up in a tower with fancy books is the only way to do it. And I love that shit. But I also love this shit, right? And I made a book because I'm a book nerd. But, like, magic is not a bookish affair. Magic is about dancing in a circle and kissing the devil on his nether parts and obtaining the great Sabbath, and all of those things are also magic, right? It's all in there. And again, you guys came to a bookstore event, so I'm gonna make a bet that you guys are also maybe book folk. But I do think that in our culture, there's this idea, right? So I just wanted to does anybody else want to talk about how we're gonna use this last page? All right, Wick, do you want to say more about final seal? What do you think, like, what would you do? How would you use this as a final seal?
I mean, like there's a ton of things that you could use it in.
Agreed.
You could take the idea of just, like, making the incantation itself, like, do that sigilization in the chaos mode, boil that down, turn that into a sigil, and turn that into something that you'd be able to put in the book. Which I do love that idea, too, like, actually taking the thing out and then putting that into the book itself as, like,
Love
the
it.
activation of it.
Agreed.
That's my first go-to with it, but I don't want to take it all over.
Anybody else want to make a guess? Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. I believe magic is real. So I just taught you how to create a spirit, or like you can think of it as creating a servitor spirit. But you could, I will say, for me, I might think of the process of making a magic book as more about creating a house. It's like a job advertisement for a spirit. Like, hey guys, look what I got an opening for. Anybody want in? And then I have cavalierly invited that spirit to talk in your head with no restrictions whatsoever. So what's something else we might do with this last page? I'm going to read this page to you. Book of paper, glue, and friend. It's time to go to sleep, my friend. I've written in your pages, and you talked in my head. Magic book, we were friends. But now we've come to the end. So if you need to shut this magic down, so as a final seal, I would not do this, because I want to keep talking in my head. But if I didn't, I would write the end into that book, right? And I would put that book to sleep and revoke its permission to talk in my head, right? Like, when magic is real, you need to think about the fact that, like, letting whatever demon shows up talk in your head is perhaps unwise. So, right? So one thing I want you guys to understand is that when you are practicing magic, treating magic as play is beautiful and gorgeous and a sacred activity. Treating magic as a game is not for beginners. Like, don't get me wrong, I love to treat magic as a game. But I have gotten burned playing that game many times, right? So when you're constructing magic, it's really important to, like, build in safeguards, right? And so that's how I would use this page. I would write this incantation in, but just like I did here, I would leave the final beat out, right? And I would put that final beat in when I wanted to put that book to sleep.
I think with what you're saying, too, like this, you don't even have to leave the idea of, like, playing with it, because this is the license to depart, but it still keeps the same whimsy in it. So you don't
Exactly.
even have to jump out of that
Exactly.
mindset.
Like, look. Here's like an unpopular hot take that maybe I'm going to edit out when I put this on YouTube. From many people who read this book, the editor, but also many other people who had read it before, suggested that I put a thing in the beginning about magic safe words. About how in a ritual you can call... Does everybody understand what I mean by safe word?
I
Okay,
understand.
so safe word is a term that like comes out of BDSM where you're like maybe in a scene where you're like whipping people or whatever, and at some point they're like, yo, this is not fun anymore, safe word. And it's because you're playing a game that allows you to do that. When you keep a safe word in your magic, as opposed to a seal, like I've planned ahead, it's part of the magic, but when you safe word out, the only real safe word is la la la, magic isn't real. And you can only call that so many times before it'll be true. So I really encourage you, like, magic is fun, and magic is play, and magic is power, and magic is real. And you, like, do need to treat it seriously the way 7-year-olds treat shit real fucking serious. Right? Okay.
It's kind of like putting something to rest for a while and reactivating it at some later point in time.
You could certainly reactivate the book. Personally, I will say, as a spirit, I'm a spirit, you're a spirit, all of us are spirits. If somebody put me to sleep, I would not talk to them again. Like if somebody was like, you're too much, you gotta get out of here, which actually happens to me a lot, I am disinclined to talk to that person again.
Yeah.
Like, this is a hostile, seal, actually. Right? This is, we were friends, but now we've come to the end. Right?
Part of company.
Yeah, we're done. Like, you are no longer welcome in my mind. Right? And so, that's what that page is for, but we took it out of the book to keep it in case we need it. Right? But I did one time have to put a book down.
That was really like great timing. I'm sorry, the light magic thunder just now.
Magic is real,
Yeah.
and I'm a drama queen.
Yeah,
So.
great timing right now.
Thank you. All right. So the next thing does anybody let me ask this question. So we're going to sort of remain in Magic High School, right? So I want you guys to think about, like, analyzing a book the way, like, in English class or history class, we might pull a document apart. So what else do you notice about this book? Like, does anybody else who else has thoughts about this color book? Including, why 7? Remember at the beginning I told you to be 7, not 6, not 8, but 7?
So yeah.
Mhm.
I remember you talking about it.
Okay.
No,
Okay. Anybody want to take a guess?
Rainbow, right?
7 days of the week, too.
7 days of the week. They're in English. We tend to understand there to be 7 days or 7 colors in the spectrum, and that is the magic we're going to learn today. Does anybody? Okay. Here are some fun facts about color magic across the world. 1, why in English? Okay. What are the 7 colors in the English spectrum? Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv, splendid fairy king he is. His name is like a secret rhyme that tells the colors in a rhyme. Right? So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Which of those colors is unlike the other colors?
Indigo.
Right. Why is there because, look, the color spectrum is a spectrum, and you can chop it up into however many you want. Here is a fascinating neuro-linguistic fact. In different languages, how many, like, I don't want to call them primary colors because that means something else, like essential colors there. Because, like, blue-green, also a color. Red-orange, also a color. Right? Purple, also a color. Right? So, like, in different languages, how many colors there are is very different. A fact I knew theoretically, but really found out when my book on color magic, like chapter 1, what we're going to do today, guys, is approximately the first third of lesson 1. So as of right now, you have done the first 3 pages of this book. Right? Like, I pack a lot in, right? But this course is also available in Italian, and also available in traditional Chinese, and also about to be available in Spanish, right? And something, like, here's a fun fact I am. Hard to translate, everything rhymes. You know who doesn't know who Roy G. Biv is? anybody in China.
Awesome.
Right? Even people in Italy were like, what are you talking about?
Oh.
If you know how many essential color words there are in a language, you can predict with 100% accuracy what colors they are. How humans understand color is a neurologically determined fact. Now, it is not a fact about the world. Like, it's not actually a fact about color. It's a fact about human brains. And in magic, it's really important to understand that spirits are not humans, right? And so when we talk about, like, magic virtues, there are sort of 3 kinds of magic virtues. Some magic virtues are essential. They are facts about the universe. In my opinion, correct numerology is one of those ways. I will say, before I quit to be a degenerate with no apparent job, I was a theoretical mathematician. I have opinions on numerology, right? And mathematics is not culturally determined. It is not determined by the shape of a human brain. They are facts about the world. So, like, the essence of the number 3 has nothing to do with humans and nothing to do with culture. And in my opinion, many sloppy numerologists don't do it that way. And I'm not normally here to tell people they're magicking wrong, but sometimes I am here to tell people they're counting wrong. So, but this isn't a course on numbers, a course on colors, right? So that fact, if you know how many essential color words there are, right, you know what they are. So for example, if there are 3, they are light, dark, and red. Right? Why in English do we have 7? Does anybody know?
Not me.
Okay, so here, I didn't actually expect anybody to know. Sometimes, if there happens to be a physicist in the room, they know. Does anybody know who decided that there are 7 in English? Isaac Newton.
I've seen that.
There are 7 colors in our spectrum because in normal English parlance, there would be 6. We all know WTF, why is indigo on that list? Nobody, if I just asked you to name random colors and nobody had taught you Roy G. Biv, in English, we don't actually treat indigo as an essential color in that way. Can anybody describe to me the difference between blue and indigo? Somebody went to art school. And somebody who didn't go to art school.
More red.
Say that again?
More red.
Which one's more red?
Almost like they're more purple, more red.
Which
When I
one?
think of indigo.
So that's one way to think about it, and that's true. So something that I think is sometimes lost in modern English magic is that when Isaac Newton said blue, let me back up. The reason there are 7 is because Isaac Newton wanted them to match the planets. Like, it is an intentional choice. I guess not everybody learned this in high school.
No.
Isaac Newton was I didn't learn in high school either, but Isaac Newton is a straight-up alchemist. Like, no question. Like, a quite public and vocal alchemist. He wrote extensively on alchemy and what we would now call hermetic magic. Like, everybody who knew Isaac Newton knew that. Here's also a fun fact. Literally everybody who knew Isaac Newton thought he was a raging asshole. And such a bad teacher that Cambridge forbid him from talking to students. Like, he was a well-respected professor who was not allowed to talk to students because he was bad at it. So those are just some fun facts about Isaac Newton, right? So Isaac Newton decided we would have 7 to match the planets. Does anybody know how the colors are matched to the planets?
I always wondered.
Oh, Mars.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, so red, right?
Mars.
Right. Red is the color of Mars, right? That's very deeply embedded in our culture. And also, that one, okay, for those of us who live in the city, like I do, particularly in like a deeply polluted city where I live, Pittsburgh, like I live within sight of the last remaining Carnegie steel mill. My air is not that good, right? And there's a lot of light pollution. So when I look up at the sky and see Mars, I usually can't see Mars at all. And I certainly cannot tell that Mars is red. But when you live in the country, everybody knows. Like, our ancestors all knew that Mars was red. Mars is visibly red. Does anybody know why Mars is red?
Amount of iron.
It is. It's the amount of iron. It's the same reason our blood is red. the redness of Mars is not a culturally constructed phenomenon. It is an essential quality of the planet Mars. That is not true for all of the planets, right? But for that one, it is. Culturally, one way that we think about red being Mars, so if you ever look at like Catholic icons, every saint who is wearing a red cloak is a military saint. That is the red cloak of the Roman army. So like our cultural iconography, like I'm not Catholic, like hell fucking Satan, but also I grew up Jewish. Like I wasn't even Christian to start with, right? But like our culture, embedded in our culture, that notion of red as Mars is very tight. I would say perhaps of all the color associations, that's the strongest one, right? And I think it's interesting that that's also the first one in the spectrum. So orange. Anybody want to take a guess at
Mercury.
Mercury?
Oh.
Correct. Right?
I'm off.
No, I mean, well, this is the thing. Red, Mars, nobody got that wrong.
Right.
Because even if you don't, like, know that you know that, it's just embedded very tightly in our culture. So orange is traditionally associated with Mercury. And in a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more about why that is and how that association works. Right? What about yellow?
Sun.
The sun. And this is another one that's like very deeply embedded. I said Mars was the most, but actually this one. The sun is straight up yellow,
Yeah.
like in a very deep and important way, right? So yellow is the magic of shining, right? The sun, right? How about green?
Venus?
Venus. Why?
Well, it is green, isn't it?
The planet
Fertility link.
Venus, no, I don't think
No?
the planet
Okay.
certainly does not visibly green from Earth.
Yeah, I mean, with a good telescope, maybe, but I'm not even sure about that. So tell me.
Okay, so you said fertility.
Well, Venus, the goddess, has the strong fertility links.
So why is fertility green?
This is associated with new growth.
Why?
Because like you have like fall and winter where everything browns, and you have your new growth, which is green, which green in the spring.
Right. So patriarchy, our culture, like, fucks up our understanding of all the gods. But in my opinion, the ones that it does the dirtiest are Mars, who it turns into like a brute. Something interesting to understand is that I'm going to talk about Greek mythology, but this is true for all mythology, right? That mythology is like 80% political propaganda. So Ares in Greek mythology is like a brute with very few redeeming features. Like there are multiple gods of war, and Ares is the god of one of the gods of war of Sparta. But the mythology, unless you are a specialist in Greek mythology, the Greek mythology you know is 95% Athenian political propaganda. And Ares is the god of the enemy of Athens. So our culture does that god real dirty. Who's the other god of Sparta? Actually, the primary god of Sparta. Does anybody know?
It's not Athena, is
It is not. Athena, as you might imagine, is the goddess of Athenians.
it? Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not shaming you, like...
Oh, I didn't think so. No, that's why I was like, just you association.
You
with,
don't know because our culture is Athenian and they lie to you. It's Aphrodite. Aphrodite Aria, the goddess of war. Our culture will teach you that just like it teaches you Ares is a brute, it teaches you that Venus is a bimbo. That Aphrodite is a bimbo. And Aphrodite is 100% the goddess of sex. Aphrodite is the great green goddess who makes the plants grow, who brings life to the ocean, the queen of heaven and earth, the goddess of war and passion, right? And that's why the planet Venus is associated with the color green. Also, copper, the metal of Venus, turns green. Why is copper associated with Venus? Does anybody know?
Was it because it used to be used to make a lot of jewelry?
So a lot of people think that, and that is one possible reason. But the greatest cult center of Venus, under any name, in the ancient Mediterranean, is the island of Cyprus. In fact, one name for Aphrodite is Cupragenia, Cyprus-born, right? almost all copper in the ancient world, from Ireland to southern India, comes from the island of Cyprus, the home of Aphrodite. In fact, as linguists, like I'm a linguist, as a person who knows a lot about languages, right, we are unsure whether Cyprus is named, okay, in Greek, Cyprus is called Kypros. It's a little easier to hear that is also the word for copper. And we don't know if the metal is named after the island or the island is named after the metal, but that's the island where Aphrodite is born. You know that famous painting of Aphrodite on the half shell, like a clam? Like, she is emerging from the sea. She is emerging from the sea foam cut from the castrated penis of Kronos, right? Like,
Uranus.
oh, the castrated penis of Uranus cut down by Kronos. Thank you, right? And his semen that comes out of his penis becomes the sea foam from which Aphrodite arises. Important to understand that Aphrodite is much older than all of the other Olympians, not just in a historical fact way, but also mythologically. And yet, who knew that? Nobody. Well, I mean, I've lectured you that 9,000 times, so you don't count. Maybe you even knew it.
I knew that story before I met you, but I didn't know all of it.
Right, and so, they don't always teach the wily seafoam semen part.
It's funny you bring this up because my boyfriend would know all of that, so he wants to be Kronos for Halloween next year.
Amazing.
To the point where he warned me, said, starting beginning of the year, I'm going to grow my beard out. Like, it's going to be down here by the time I get to October. And I'm like, like, it was just like, I was upset because I'm like, your face is so great. And like, it was, he's going to amaze me. I'm like, this acceptance, I'm like, all right, man. I'm like, I'm gonna let you do it. It's cool, man. Like, go ahead, do your thing. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I should be Aphrodite then for Halloween. Or to match him.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm seeing him after this. He's gonna love it. Yep.
I want to tell you so much about Kronos, but I'm gonna go back, right?
Yep.
So if Venus is green, what's the next color after green?
Blue.
Blue. What planet is blue?
Jupiter.
What do they mean by blue? Like, what color? Somebody point to something that's blue. You have a blue pencil literally in your hand, so that's why I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Right?
This?
Maybe. Marginally blue.
Behind you, there's your book. Is that
Blue.
blue or is that purple?
This is important to understand. This is indigo.
Shit.
When no, but that's actually the color. That's what I wanted to say. When Isaac Newton made these assignments, at that point in the English language, blue meant sky blue. But as modern people, when we use the word blue, if I just asked you to, like, think the color blue, we're thinking about a, like, cobalt blue.
Yeah.
That's indigo. I mean, indigo is maybe pushing a little further into navy. And I'm not like making an argument about, let me say this. The color produced as dye from the plant indigo is like dark wash denim. I mean, pretty specifically, historically, dark wash denim is dyed with indigo, though I'm sure it no longer is, right? So when you think about Jupiter, Jupiter is not cobalt blue, and this is a mistake I see so many people make, and it really twists up their magic in some subtle ways. But Jupiter is the god of the sky, right? The god of lightning, and his color is sky blue, that just as Venus is the great green goddess of the earth, right? Zeus, not my favorite god, Jupiter, Potter, the god of patriarchy, right, is the overwhelming sky above us, right? And the lightning that comes down from the sky like burning rage, right? And I'm just going to tell you guys for a second, like, this is a class on colors and not planets. And we're going to move through this workshop, and I'm going to explain to you that colors and planets are not interchangeable. That color magic is not planetary magic, right?
I wanted to mention that because the current that I work with, colors are specific energy, like not about planets. It's really
Agreed,
the actual
and
color, yeah.
that's what I'm going to talk about as well. But in order to understand why we have 7 colors in English, which again is not true in most languages. That is a feature of the English language introduced by Isaac Newton to subvert color magic into planetary magic. So 100% agree, that's the second half of this class. So good call. But it's important to understand, right, that blue in the context of color magic in English means sky blue, right? So what's the next color? Indigo. Anybody want to try for a planet?
This is tricky now, because now I feel like it should be a different one. It's Saturn.
Saturn. Traditionally, Isaac Newton would associate indigo with Saturn. If you have any familiarity with the plant indigo, if you've worked with indigo, smelled indigo, I think it will become a little bit clearer to you. Also, indigo sometimes grows in concert with wheat, right? And Saturn's sickle that brings in the wheat, which is also the sickle that brought down that tyrant. Our culture doesn't care for Saturn. The greater malefic. Ooh. You know who Saturn's the god of? Everyone that held out against the Roman Empire. When Romans encountered... Look, when Greeks and Romans encounter other cultures, they're like, tell us about your gods. Not that much. We don't really care. You mean Saturn. Like, I heard you. Saturn. Zeus, right? So when we apply the name of a god, like, that is the god Saturn, there's a lot of political flex in that. But does anybody know the cultures whose gods Romans named after their god Saturn?
What do you mean?
When Romans encountered Sulis, the goddess of the hot springs in Bath in England. Her name is Sulis. They called her Minerva. But I'll tell you, having been in that place, I know Minerva when I'm looking at her, and that's not Minerva. If we think about Artemis of Ephesus, the one with all the boobs. Do you guys know the one I'm talking, like the statue I'm talking about with like rows and rows of boobs? Which, fun fact, might not be intended to be boobs. They might be intended to be bull testicles. But to our culture, we're definitely like, they look like boobs. But apparently, some people think they're intended to be bull testicles, which is pretty badass that this goddess just has ropes of testicles around her neck. Like, that's my goddess. Like, that's Diana, Queen of Witches, right? That's Artemis of Ephesus, right? So for people who know the Christian Bible, which I'm not so good at, Paul almost got martyred there when the people chanted, "Great is Artemis, great is Artemis, great is Artemis of Ephesus," while they ran that bastard out of town. That's my goddess, right? And then if we look at a more, what we think of in our culture is a slightly more traditional image of Artemis, which is actually less traditional, right? So the one where she's got the bow and arrow and the stag, that's another face of Artemis, right? Of the moon. If you did not tell me that both those goddesses were Artemis, I wouldn't even know. And if you look at, say, Artemis at Eleusis, that's Hecate. Like, that's not Artemis at all. Right? And so that's what I mean when I say, like, the people who built that sanctuary at Ephesus did not speak Greek. Right? Like, Greek is coming in and colonizing. So by the time Paul is there, those are Greek people, fully assimilated into Greek culture, and they call that goddess Artemis. Do you know what we call the goddess of Ephesus today? Like, do you know what is in the location of the temple of Artemis at Ephesus today? That is where the Virgin Mary legendarily retired. After Jesus died, like, that's the specific Mary who lives there, is the human Mary went there, and that's where she lived after Jesus died. That's what's currently there. The one with the bull testicles hanging around her neck.
Gosh, she's a fan. That's kind of cool.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not into Christianity, but I do like the Theotokos. Like, the Mother of God, I can get behind that a little bit. Especially when she's wearing testicles around her neck. So, okay.
Don't piss her off.
Right? Again, legendarily, the Queen of Witches is this particular one. So what planet haven't we talked about yet? the moon. And what color have we got left?
Violet.
Violet. Or purple, like Isaac Newton calls it violet. It's Roy G. Biv, not Roy G. Bip. Like, somebody didn't go to art school very well.
That was the last class. I was sick.
Right? So the moon is associated with violet. And there are ways, like, the assignment of the colors to the planets. One, I want to stress to you, is in the history of magic quite new. Isaac Newton did that. It is not universal and not the essence of the colors, but Isaac Newton, despite being perhaps a douchebag, is not dumb. Like, he didn't randomly assign them. There are good reasons that he assigned them, right? So, but I'm sorry, tell me your name again?
I'm Jonathan.
Right? As Jonathan mentioned, and as I mentioned, colors and planets are not interchangeable. And I would say that is perhaps the biggest mistake I see beginner magicians make. Like, mistake as, like, a technical matter that just, like, they're doing it wrong. Like, it doesn't work because they're not matching them properly. Those things are not interchangeable. They are different, right? So we're going to talk about color magic. Not planetary magic, but color magic, right? So what we're going to do for, I don't know, the next section. What time is it? Does somebody know?
8:27.
Perfect. I think, good on time, right? The last thing we're going to do today is we are going to charge up these colored pencils as wands of color, which they overtly are. I mean, we could do nothing. They obviously are wands of color magic by their very nature,
Things with them.
right? So, yeah, so if you broke a pencil, get a good pencil, right? And I want everybody to pull out the 7, like, we are going to do those 7 colors in particular today. But again, I remind you that when we talk about color magic, we are not only talking about these 7 colors. We're talking about all the colors, even the ones in between, even the ones that remain unseen, right? In addition to the visible spectrum of color, right? Does anybody know what some things on the same spectrum are that we humans just can't see?
Talking about like ultraviolet and infrared.
Ultraviolet, infrared. Good. Anybody else? Radio waves are on the same, like, what we in English naturally call color, in, like, physics, we would call the electromagnetic spectrum, right? Radio is a color that humans can't see. Microwaves are a color that humans can't see.
What about colors that the brain makes up that don't exist? Like, isn't magenta like a false color?
That is a complicated question that I'm going to table for now. But I'm going to say this. When we talk about color magic, you're fine, right? When we talk about color magic, we mean all the colors of the rainbow. And the rainbow means the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Even the ones in between, red, orange, blue, green, teal, magenta, but again, special, like, you are correct. Magenta is, like, in some sense a special case that I'm going to put away because we're in kindergarten.
Okay.
Right? But also the ones that remain unseen, that are outside the human ability to see. Because I believe, right? And, like, sometimes, like, when I'm like, no, Isaac Newton, blah, 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 like, I'm just right. I mean, it's just a fact about the world. But this one, like, this is a belief. I believe that the fundamental nature of witchcraft, perhaps a little distinct, like, what is the difference between witchcraft and magic? I understand witchcraft is, like, not exactly the same as magic. So that book on pentacles is not really about witchcraft. Because witches have had this experience. And for some of us, it's about being born. So I was born dead under a call. I got better and I'm not dead anymore. But, like, right? That is, like, dying and then not being dead anymore is one traditional way to get witched. But there are many...
like, super traditional. That's really, really cool. That's
I'm pretty witchy. Like, you know. Thank you for noticing. Right? But there are many, many ways to get witched. But what it means to be witched is that you have had this transformative experience that others you. That just like spirits are not human beings, and some things that are true about human beings are not true about non-human spirits, right? That witches see the world in a fundamentally different way, and there is no going back. And I'm going to say that looking around this room, I can see a lot of people be like, yes, sister, preach, witch. And maybe some people haven't had that getting witched experience, and you are craving it. And that's okay. Like, if I had more time, I would try my best to get y'all witched tonight, right? And I'll try, but it's pretty hard to do in a bookstore on the spur of a moment to a stranger without, killing you and bringing you back. Like it's... I'll tell you this, getting witched, in my experience, is not typically an entirely pleasant experience. Again, some people, it's great. Some people are like, yeah, I fucked the fairy queen, it was amazing. Faboo! Right? But I think traditionally for most people, getting witched is a little rough. I have gotten witched many, many times, right? And I perhaps just got witched. Like, I don't really know what it's like to not be a witch, right? But just like humans can only see part of the electromagnetic spectrum, as witches, we have this realm of experience that is not necessarily available to everyone, right? And I really want you guys, as we think about this exercise that we're about to do, to really kind of lean into that. But I'm going to pretend we're teaching humans today. So we're going to make 7 color wands, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And Blake and I went back and forth over which boxes of colored pencils were acceptable, because I needed a blue and an indigo that were different colors. And I've got that in this. So you've got a light blue and a dark blue.
Mission accomplished.
Right? So make sure you've got all those. Right? So now I want you to try and get back into, right, some kind of magical space-time consciousness. What we're going to do, I encourage you to try out childlike wonder. But it'll work with any kind of magical trance, right? I'm going to give you guys like 1 minute. I want you to breathe in and out and in and out. So breathe slowly and deeply at your own pace. And as you breathe in, remember that the air you are breathing in was breathed out by the plants. And the air you exhale gives them life. That the air we are sharing unites not just all of us, but it unites you with every living creature on earth. You breathe in their breath, and they breathe out. They breathe your exhalations, right? And so try and find that place in you where you know that you're a motherfucking witch, right? And so we're going to try and imagine some things with colors. So I want you guys to imagine that you are riding a red dragon. And feel the heat of that dragon beneath you, between your legs, as you are riding on the dragon. And feel the vibrations of its breath thrumming up your bones. Right? If you're having trouble, you might try sort of rocking your hips a little bit, like you are riding a dragon. And I'm going to ask you a question about a secret name. So don't say it out loud, but think it in your heart and feel it in your mind. What's the dragon's name? And when you think you know your dragon's name, it might not have one. You might have to give it a name, right? But that is a gift you are giving to this dragon. When, in Judaism, we are taught that when we say that humans are created in the image of God, it is our power to name, to turn an object into a person, to make believe things real by giving them names. When you know your dragon's name, I want you to breathe in, and I want you to roar out fire. We're going to do it 3 times. In. Breathe out red flame. And in. And that's what red feels like. Red magic is red like the cape of a superhero who exercises strength and power in the world. Red magic is red like a fire truck that comes to save people. But red magic is also red like a bonfire that destroys. And red magic is red like a stop sign that stops things in their tracks. Right? That's what red magic is. So I'm going to take your red pencil, and I want you to jerk that pencil off while you think about the color red and be in a red dragon. I can see some people in the room have never jerked a pencil off, but I assure you, I don't mean wave it around like a wand. I mean up and which is, I will tell you, also the way that I think we are typically taught. Can I jerk the pencil? We're going to go up and down, maybe spiral it a little, and we're really going to pour red energy into this pencil. The same way you would, by the way, when we are like awakening a candle, right? So I was originally taught to like awaken a candle by starting in the middle and going out. But I'll tell you, I think it is best to hard, fast, up and down that candle. Y'all do you, right? But that's what we're going to, right? For the red candle, I really want you to pour that dragon fire red that you felt, that vibration underneath you. And I'll tell you, if I was teaching this in a different context, the rumble of the dragon between your legs might be a little different. But we're in kindergarten. So we're riding a dragon, right? Pour it into your red pencil. And really imagine it. And really imagine assuming your red form. Right? Which I encourage you, if you don't know what you look like when you're shining with the power of red, I encourage you to start by wearing a red superhero cape and riding a red dragon. And that is the power of red magic. We're going to move on to orange. I love to charge things by my breath. I would also fillet this pencil if people weren't watching. Right? So, the next color is orange. And for this one, we're going to ride on a bumblebee. I know that when people draw pictures of bumblebees, bumblebees are yellow and black. But I encourage you to look at a bee, and you will discover that bees are actually orange and black. And I think it is an interesting fact about our culture. Whenever I notice that our culture has a like, oh, that's not how the world is, I like to think about why. Here's a fact about bees. I'm going to say a fact about bees, but perhaps a cultural folklore about bees that I thought everyone knew until I started teaching this class and found out only certain very specific populations do. Bees carry messages back and forth from the dead. That's a fact. See, some people are like, yeah, obviously. And other people are like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I thought everybody knew that. Bees carry messages back and forth from the dead. So when we think about bees, when we think about the color orange, bees are orange. They're not yellow. Look at them. Unless you're colorblind, you will discover a bumblebee is orange. Bumblebee butts are orange. And when you ride on your bumblebee like a little orange fairy, you can feel it bzzz, right? Not quite between your legs, but a little bit higher. Bzzz. It's your womb. I understand men don't quite acknowledge that they have a womb, but energetically, the sacral chakra that nobody can clearly explain where it is because they're a dude. It's your womb. That's what they're talking about. Like, that is the location in your body you're talking about. If y'all don't know, I understand some of you don't know where your womb is, but it's there. It's like kind of little bit underneath your belly button, and then inside, right?
Ladders, though.
Yeah, but I encourage you not to buzz your bladder too hard, because that can have unfortunate consequences. Or fortunate, I don't know what y'all are into. Right? We're gonna buzz like a bee. And orange magic, when you're riding that bee, it is so fast and exciting to ride a bee. Like, riding a dragon is powerful, but riding a bee is fast. And carrying messages from one place to another. And that speed of your mind. You know, when we have a dream that is an entire lifetime, that dream occurred in our world. Like, in the dreaming, you had a whole giant experience. But here, that happened in like 3 minutes. Because orange magic, the magic of ideas, it's fast. Fast. So I want you to think about riding that bee and feel the fast, right? And make the noise that orange magic makes. Feel it in your womb. And I would take that orange pencil and pour as much as you can into it. Right? So let's try buzzing. In. So try hard, guys, not to buzz in your throat. Buzz in your womb. There we go. Good. And pour that into that orange pencil. Fast. Like ideas. Like connections. Like when your mind is exploding in a million directions at once, and you are carrying messages and speaking to the dead, that is orange magic. Not the dead specifically, but messages, communicating, right? And, you know, dead humans, pretty easy to talk to. They talk pretty much the same way as us. Some spirits, they don't really speak English so good, so you're going to have to learn to speak tree. Like, a feature of humans, remember I said, I taught it in the, like, context of that Bible story, right? That what makes us in the image of God is our ability to speak the word, right? A uniquely human skill. Not just unique among animals, unique among spirits too. Here's a fun fact. Angels can't read until a human teaches them to. If you ever want to, like, earn a lot of points from an angel, teach it to read. Lucifer taught me that. They might fall after you teach them. Worth it. They're into it, right? Right? Like that power, the power of the word, is in some ways very central to us humans in a way that is not so central to other things. Like, I believe trees talk and they communicate, but they're never going to learn English because we're better at that than they are. You're going to have to learn to speak tree. Now, you know, angels and demons, they are much, much older than you. So some of them have learned to speak English. But for the most part, most competent magicians can learn to speak the language of the angels better than those angels can ever speak our human tongue. Which is deeply confusing to them. Like, in all mythologies, y'all will find out that, like, angels have trouble with human language. Which is weird because they're constructed out of language. Also, traditional angelic folklore, right? But the power of the word is, I think, and again, I write books for a living, and was a mathematician before that, so I have opinions on, like, symbol craft and orange magic. I orange magic for a living. Like, I purple magic in my heart with the Queen of Witches, but I orange magic for a living, right? Okay, so the next color is yellow. What does yellow do? It shines like the sun. So far, I've asked you guys to assume some reasonably easy forms. I didn't even ask you to be a dragon. I asked you to ride a dragon. I didn't even really ask you to be a bee. I asked you to ride a bee. So we're going to step it up a little bit. I want you to imagine being a sunflower. There are a lot of reasons we call them sunflowers. And many people think it's because they low-key look like the sun. but it is because they follow the sun through the sky. Because like all plants, they eat the deliciousness of the sun. That's their food, right? And so I want you to imagine being a sunflower, following your beloved sun across the sky and swallowing its shine. And then I want you to ignite with yellow magic. I want you to shine. I said I orange magic for a living, but actually yellow magic for a living. It's the razzle dazzle, right? I want you to shine, right? Like yellow. Yellow magic is excellent for healing, right? Now you have to be careful. Healing is a complex art, right? And some things yellow magic can be quite problematic for. So for example, cancer. Yellow magic, which promotes growth, is not good. The problem with cancer is people are growing inside too much. So like, I know a lot of people, this is another beginner mistake I see. Like, healing magic is a deep and complex art. And just like Crystal Karen, who only knows the name of 3 essential oils, should not be treating with medicine. Bodies are fucking complicated. And medical first aid, like, somebody's got a little bit of a cold and you're gonna, like, warm them up with some yellow magic, great. But people who have, like, serious shit. I'm not saying you have to see a doctor. I'm saying you need to see a healer who knows what the fuck they're doing. Right? So, caveat. But yellow magic, right? Kindergarten yellow magic, shine like the sun. You can heal with it. I'll tell you, if you want to razzle-dazzle up some advertising, yellow's the way to go. People think it's orange. Quick talk, and that helps. But shine. Shine. If you want attention, shine. If you want to grow things, if you want to feed things, shine. Right? So take that yellow pencil, right, and feel the yellow shining core in the center of your body and shine with the power of yellow. I'm going to mention, by the way, guys, that just like color magic is not planetary magic, it is also not chakra magic. And I'm going to throw this out there. The word chakra means cycle. It means wheel. Like, it's literally in English the same, like cycle and circle and chakra all arise from the same Indo-European root. People talk about chakras a lot and how there's 7 of them. Like, there is a chakra, there's a chakra in every cell of your body. There's a chakra in the spinning core of every atom. There is a chakra in the spinning core of every quark, right? So you guys may have noticed that there is a chakrality to these things. I know that's not a word, but it is now. I write books, so I'm an authority.
You're oranging it.
Exactly. Right? There is a chakrality to the magic I am teaching you, but just like the planets aren't the colors, they are in some way associated with colors. Similarly, the chakras are the 7 energy centers that Crystal Karen is into are associated. I'm sorry if anybody here is real Crystal Karen and I'm just insulting you. I'm going to throw this out there. You're not going to like this book. Like, if you are offended by what I'm saying, you're not into this book. I can recommend, I'm sure, a lovely Scott Cunningham book for you. Who is a great writer. Blessed among the ancestors. But he and I are writing different books for different people. Right. Alright, so, but feel that yellow core inside your body and shine with the color yellow. And then focus that shine like a laser. A knife made out of light. And pour it into your yellow pencil. Personally, I don't really have a sound for this one, but I think most people might go, ee for yellow.
Not gonna lie, that's actually what I was thinking.
Yeah. So if you want a sound, I would do that one. But for me, I don't know, sunflowers don't make noises. Right? So this particular yellow imagining has a little less color. But again, attain your sunflower self. Drink in the sun. Follow it through the sky. And then, it's not just a sunflower, right? It's a witch sunflower. Light up and shine. into the yellow pencil. If you want. For some people that really helps. I'm less into it. Okay. I know I'm really not giving you guys enough time for this, but I figured I would teach more and then you guys could revisit this and really load them up with power. I don't know about you guys. Like, and not only do I do a lot of these workshops, I come to a lot of these workshops, and I want to make sure you guys understand that this is the hardest possible fucking environment to be doing these things. Like, it is not that easy to attain a magical trance state in a room full of strangers staring at you. Right? So, like, go home. If you feel like, oh, I'm doing it wrong, I'm not in the zone, like, go home and spend a little more time, do it at home, try these exercises up. You buy the book, you'll get quite detailed much more detailed version of this exercise we are doing with the colors, of igniting the colors in your body, right? But just, I know I'm like playing you off the stage as soon as you start to get it a little, right? Not enough time. So we're gonna go on to the next color, the color green. Green is my favorite color except for all the other colors, which are also my favorite colors, right? Green, as I mentioned before, is like the color of life, the color of vitality, of green growing things. Yellow fuels growth, but green grows. Green is also like the calm of the ocean from which all life arises, right? Green. Hey guys, you can leave. Like I said, I'm a mean classroom teacher, right? Green. So what I want you to imagine now, and we're stepping up perhaps the difficulty of these imaginings. I want you to imagine being clover. So if you're not like into plants, I'm into plants. Here's a fun fact. My magical godmother believes that all witches are either plant people or rock people, but not really both.
Yeah.
And I am a plant person. And I don't know, don't really get it with the rocks. Cool, they're shiny. I don't get it, right?
I appreciate you saying that, actually, yeah.
I mean, many people are super into rocks. It's not like I don't believe in the power of crystals. I just am perhaps a little too fast moving. Really what I would say is, I think rocks don't like me because I'm insufficiently chill. But I'm a plant person, so here are some facts about clover. Clover is what we call a nitrogen fixer, right? It remediates the soil, right? Like nitrogen is a fuel that many plants pull out, particularly plants that humans like to eat, for the most part, not all of them, but they pull it out of the soil. Clover fixes it back in. So if you are looking for a fertile piece of land, like you're wandering around, like where shall I put my garden? If clover grows there, that is rich, fertile soil for almost anything. Here's another fact about clover. So when we think about clover, honestly, most people are imagining a shamrock, which is a different plant, but they do look pretty similar, right? But fun fact, a shamrock is not a clover. They are different plants, right? But everybody knows what clover looks like, more or less, right? Like green leaf clover, like Lucky Charms? Okay. That you are imagining, the entire patch of clover, that's one plant. It is all connected, and it is all talking to each other. Clover also, by the way, an amazing healing ally. Like, I love clover. If you have a yard, you should put clover in it. It's like 1,000,000 times better for Earth than grass, the most worthless plant. I mean, great if you're an animal that eats grass, but as a suburban lawn, it's a bad plant. Clover produces 5 times as much oxygen per acre as most grasses do. It's an amazing plant. But clover, it loves its friends. The feeling that, like, connects you to your friends and family. Clover lives in a giant patch, all together, interwoven with this network, this unbreakable network that binds it together. And that is the essence of green magic, the essence of life. that we are all in this shit together, that the air we are breathing unites us with every other living thing, that life, there's only one living thing, and her name is Earth, and we are all part of that. That's like an incontrovertible...
Gaia.
Yeah, that's an incontrovertible scientific fact about life. Right? That it, like, life can never exist on its own. That just like the clover is woven together, and just like when you pull it out, you didn't kill any of it. It is so hard to kill clover. Americans spend millions, perhaps billions of dollars trying to kill clover out of their yard, which, like... I don't think the witch gods approve, right? So I want you guys to imagine being clover. What's another fact about clover? Like Lucky Charms. What do we know about clover?
I know that honey comes from clover a lot. Or like,
That's true. So honey, I will say, here's a thing from chapter 2. Honey is one of my very favorite magical materials because honey is in some sense, first of all, I love bees. They talk to the dead. I'm into bees, right? But also, honey is like the distilled essence of a pretty large space of land, right? If you have seasonal allergies, eating local honey can strongly help you remediate that. A fact I learned from an allergist who is also a beekeeper. I tutored his daughter in math, right? But clover in America, the most common, like when we farm honey, the plant that we are feeding the bees the pollen of is very typically Dutch white clover, right? Clover honey. It produces a beautiful honey. In nature, and it's important to remember that honeybees, there are no natural honeybees in the Americas. Like, that is not an American, like I know we're all like, save the bees, but we actually have our own bees that we could perhaps be saving here, right? But bees and clover are closely united. What's another fact about clover? Anybody? What about 4? How many leaves does clover have?
3.
Well, no,
Except-
that's a shamrock. I don't know.
Except most clover has 3 leaves.
Yeah.
But sometimes clover mutates and has 4.
Yep.
And we all know that 4-leaf clovers are lucky. And that is another fact about green magic. That there's gambling magic, that's orange. Bzzz, fast, little bit of razzle-dazzle, orange. Right? But luck. The way I simply trust things will turn out right because I'm a witch, and witches are fucking lucky. That's green. Right? 4-leaf clovers are a mutation. What that means is if you find one 4-leaf clover, if you look around, you'll find more. Like 4-leaf clovers cluster. That's how clover grows. Right? So that's another fact about green magic. I want you to imagine being clover. Are you imagining a 3-leaf clover or a 4-leaf clover?
now it's going to be 4-leaf clover.
It's a trick question. That entire patch of clover is a clover. And you contain multitudes when you are clover. You are 3-leafed, you are 4-leafed. If you live in deeply despoiled... Like, I believe there are only 2 kinds of land. Sacred land and despoiled land. And most of us live on despoiled land, which is its own kind of sacred, but it's a little harder to get at. Right? Though, despoiled land does perhaps mutate a little bit more. Clover is an amazing plant to remediate the land, both in a literal nitrogen-fixing sense. It's not bad at pulling heavy metal toxins out of the land either, but also magically, clover is a good plant to remediate. I will also throw out there, though, that, like, Dutch white clover, the typical clover, is not a Native American plant. There are other choices in America, but clover, it's good for the earth. Like, the American land will not object to clover, but it is not a native plant, right? So I want you to imagine being clover, being a whole network that is all interconnected the way life is. And clover, it's very visibly interconnected on the top. Like, if you just get down on your knees and look, you will see that it is all connected. But it is also connected under the ground in the mycelial network, the phonic biome that is life. We often talk about ourselves as living in Earth, but we don't live in Earth. We live on Earth. And we live in the bottom of the sky. But Earth, life, the overwhelming majority of it is under the earth, in the sea, in the deep, dark places from which green magic arises. And so when you imagine being clover, remember, most of your body is under the ground. So everybody imagine being clover, right? Again, personally, I don't really...
Roots.
Clover has roots. Clover has quite deep roots, like much deep. It's one of the reasons it's hard to get rid of clover. Those clover roots go very deep, right? It's another reason that it's good for like remediating troubled soil. I mean, other things go even deeper, but good, solid. It will grow on slopes and like hold because of the roots, right? They're tightly packed, they're networked. So I want you guys to imagine being clover. Imagine what it is like to not just be connected to everything you love, which you are, but to know it in your body. That all of your friends, all of your loves, not just the human ones, are part of you. The way that Clover's friends are all one thing. And when you can feel that arise in your heart, when your heart shines with green light, with green energy, with green power, pour it into that green pencil. Again, I personally don't really feel like this one has a color or a sound. It has a color, it's green, right? But you might go, in your heart. All right, we've got 3 more colors left. Blue. So for the color blue, I want you to imagine that you are the Queen of Heaven. For some slightly technical reasons that will become clearer as you move through the book, I do encourage you to be the Queen of Heaven and not the King of Heaven. That's not a like girl power witchcraft. Like later on we're going to connect that Queen of Heaven imagining into like some specific spirits, right? Including like the Virgin Mary when she wears blue, which is the most typical color we see her depicted in. Although, you know, everybody, she's many-faceted with our color. But like that blue color, right? The Queen of Heaven, right? I want you to feel it in your throat, right? As you are the Queen of Heaven making pronouncements. So be tall and regal. Make sure you, yeah, good job. Pull your neck up, up, up. I can see some people are Queens of Heaven already. Excellent, right? Good. And when you feel that, when you know that you are the Queen of the sky, flying through the sky, wearing blue, when your robes unfurl to make the sky, the sunny, daylit, bright blue sky, feel it in your throat, long and tall and proud, and then pour it into that pencil. For me, this one in particular, the easiest way to do it is to blow it in. I'm going to apologize. I think I'm a little bit over time, but almost there.
I know the guys in all the shops, so I can.
I don't think they're going to kick me out. Also, personally, I believe no real witchcraft can even occur until it's dark. Right? So
Yeah.
next, we're going to do indigo. Indigo's a tricky one because it's like low-key fake, right? Like Isaac Newton just like kind of put it there. I mean, not a fake color, it's obviously a color, right? But it does have a sort of mysterious, dreamy quality. When I asked which one's not like the others, everybody knew which one I meant, right? So when we imagine being indigo, I want you to imagine being an indigo space wizard in outer space with a tall, pointy indigo hat. The hat, the shape of the... FYI, guys, if you've never done magic while wearing a conical-shaped hat, I think you will find it's not an accident that we wear this shape of hat. Try it out. Wizards and witches wear cones on their head for, like, reasons. pants. Right? So imagine yourself as an indigo outer space wizard in your wizard hat, flying around in outer space. Indigo magic, I will say the most common kind of indigo magic I do is the dreaming. I love dream magic. I already taught you guys a dream incubation. It was like actually the very first thing I really said, go to bed, do this, dream this, right? That's, I believe, chapter 10, dream magic. That's one of those witch skills that I think is not taught as much as it should be. But I believe the dreaming to be fundamental to witchcraft, right? So your indigo space wizard dreams. Think about, before you go to bed, pouring your dreams out like a laser through the top of your wizard hat. And that is indigo magic. There are other indigo magics, but that's what we're imagining right now. Indigo space wizard. They make a little blue pill for that. Right? We've got this indigo space wizard hat, and I'm going to pour that into your indigo pencil.
It's gonna be hard when you got this guy. By the way, this happens in my neighborhood all the time, Edgewater. I yell out my window to tell them to shut up. Sometimes they listen.
I have
Sometimes they
the
do.
oh-so-fun game in my neighborhood. Fireworks or gunshots.
That's common in Chicago. I've gotten good at differentiating.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can now
Yeah.
very easily identify. I'll tell you, I am 90% confident the cops in my neighborhood hand out fireworks. I don't really trust cops. What color are cops?
Light blue.
Blue. Sometimes they're in indigo, but they're blue. And they should be red, right? Like a red, that's about protecting and helping. Firemen are red. Nobody's like, fuck the firemen. Right? Cops are blue, the color of empire, right?
Yeah.
A cop is a warrior who has been subverted into a slave of empire. That's it. Right? So we talked before about the sickle that brings down the tyrant. What brings down the tyrant is the hammer of Mars and the sickle of Saturn in alliance. Fun fact in our witch kindergarten. Indigo magic, dream wizard. Right? So what's our last color?
Violet.
Violet. So I want you to imagine being a moon angel
I like that.
with shiny violet wings. Violet magic is what I honestly would typically, perhaps in a quite traditional wizardy way, call divine magic. Agrippa, in the 3 books of occult philosophy, outlines 3 categories of magic. Natural magic, right? Magic that is bound in objects. The magic of rocks, the magic of plants, the magic of internal energy work in your body, which is bound in a physical object, your body. He would call that natural magic. In modern English, we low-key sometimes just call it witchcraft. We sometimes call it sympathetic magic, right? His next category, right, he calls celestial magic. We typically call it astrological magic. It is magic that is bound in time. And he has a third category that he calls divine magic. I sometimes call it ideal magic. Not ideal as in perfect, but I make words for a living, so that's not an accident. But ideal as in it is made out of ideas. It is bound in neither time nor space. Not time, not matter, not space. But it transcends all of those things. That is how I understand violet magic. Right? So violet magic, I want you to wear a violet halo above the top of your head. Unfurl your wings. I will say for this one, I really think it's quite important. Our culture really teaches us to restrict our ability to physically spread our wings. Roll your shoulder blades out. That's where your wings attach, is in your shoulder blades. Roll them out and think about how that process changes your relationship to the top of your head. Good. Excellent. Right? So unfurl your wings and wear your violet or purple halo, right? And when you can feel yourself radiating, very good, radiating that purple energy, take that purple pencil, that violet pencil, and pour that energy into it. In my opinion, the easiest way to do that is to put the pencil on top of your head. But everybody, you should find your own way. But if you're having trouble, try pulling it out the top of your head. And if you are having trouble doing that, re-establish your wizard hat cone and try again. Right? And pour that violet energy in. 7-pointed rainbow star, all the colors that there are, even the ones that are in between, even the ones that remain unseen. That is the end of our lesson for today. I would...
I was to clap, but...
Oh, well, you are welcome to clap, but I will also take some questions. Thank you.
Actually, orange. I feel like you kind of talked about it a little bit, but why Mercury is orange? Like when you were explaining the bee, that makes a lot of sense. Is that where it comes from?
Mercury's essential quality, as we view it from Earth, is that it is fast, right? And so that idea that you're buzzing around sending messages, I think that is in many ways why we associate the color orange with Mercury. That being said, the ore from which we derive Mercury is called cinnabar, which in our modern English culture we would call probably orangey red. But Isaac, exactly what colors a color word means, moves around. If we all picked out the exact thing that we caught was orange, there'd be a variety of colors between red and yellow, and all of those are orange. But Isaac Newton, in his time, his orange was a little redder than we would normally, it wasn't really bumblebee orange, it was cinnabar orange, the ore from which we derive Mercury, Quicksilver Mercury. Right? Why is the liquid metal Quicksilver called Mercury? Well, that is an alchemical secret. Say that again?
Was it because of the orange or no?
I actually think, I'm going to say no. I could be wrong. I think no. I think it's partly because it is Quicksilver. But I actually think that it is a deep alchemical mystery. Alchemy, in my opinion, is a mercurial kind of magic, an orangey kind of magic. And in many ways, Quicksilver is the... To not get too bogged down, right? In modern Anglophone witchcraft, when we are taught elements, we're often taught there are 4. Earth, air, water, fire. Or 5. I mean, it depends who you ask. 4 terrestrial elements. But in many cultures, that is not the case. So, for example, in Hebrew, we only have 3 elements. Aleph, Mem, Shin, the breath, the waves, and the fire.
The 3 mothers.
And the 3 mother letters. Excellent. Somebody's a kabbalist. Me too, right? And in alchemy, there are 3. Salt, sulfur, and mercury. And so, Quicksilver. And so the sort of chemistry of Quicksilver, not just the way it moves, but the way it is a poison and I am not encouraging you guys to eat mercury to learn alchemical secrets. But I will tell you that is the traditional way to learn alchemy. There are a lot of ways, but the drug of choice of alchemists is Quicksilver. And I think that is kind of in the mix about why the planet Mercury and the metal Quicksilver are associated. Fun fact, the associations of the metals and planets are relatively new. Some of them, iron and Mars, that is ancient. Mars is literally made out of iron. Weapons are made out of iron. Yada, yada, yada.
I think
Right?
the bullets made by U.S. soldiers in the Civil War were iron.
Yes. right?
Or
And
letters,
like
something.
the age of heroes in Greek mythology, which is where like our culture's literacy really arises from the Iron Age. So for them, like weapons are made. If some people have weapons made out of iron, and some people have weapons made out of bronze, I regret to inform you that Team Bronze is going to die.
Yes.
Like, iron is a revolutionary weapons technology that changes the world. The other one is the wheel, and the other one is the horse. Like the domesticated horse. Horse, wheel, iron is what allowed a certain category of people who, I'm not gonna lie, not my favorites, right, to conquer the world. Like, that is an unstoppable war machine. Those three things together that rolled across the entire world, right, in a pretty brutal and martial way, right? Copper, we already discussed, is in ancient days very closely associated with Venus for a variety of reasons, but particularly like a locational reason, right? The same way that like tin came from the British Isles, copper comes from Cyprus, right? Mercury, the association of quicksilver that we in English call Mercury with the planet Mercury is not as old as that. Like, if you look at ancient lists that associate metals with planets, they're, like, not as tightly combined. And not in the same ways that we understand them. Which is why when people get on their high horse about how planetary pentacles have to be made in metal, I, like, laugh in their face. Like, first of all, that is not even the traditional way to make them. Like, traditionally, they're made on parchment, actually, guys, if we're gonna... But people will pay $600 for a metal pentacle and $200 for a parchment pentacle because who the fuck knows? So, people get real uppity about it. People will be like, oh, you can't laser engrave. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys who didn't grow up Jewish a fact. There's an entire story in Talmud about Solomon chasing down, like, spending magic and decades and armies chasing down a magical stone-cutting tool made out of light. It's also a worm. It's a little complicated. So I actually feel like Solomon would 100% laser engrave a fucking pentacle. I know this isn't a pentacle class, but I'm just saying I have opinions on things, right? So that's why I think Quicksilver, the metal, is associated with the planet Mercury. I know that's not the question, but I think it's probably cinnabar, the ore from which the metal is designed. Because the association of the planet Mercury and the color orange is Isaac Newton. Like, he just did that one. And if I had to make a guess, he's an alchemist, for sure. And, like, I would guess that's why he did that, is to, like, capture the essence of a Mercury. When we say mad as a hatter, it's Mercury that
Mercury that was in the hat.
that was in the hat, like, the specific madness that, like, Alice in Wonderland, Mad as a Hatter. FYI, I don't know if you guys know this, like, that book also written by a magician and a mathematician. Like that's a magician writing that book. So if you want to learn how to enter the underworld, you go down a rabbit hole like Alice. Like, that is a magician training manual for children.
It's my favorite way of learning magic.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Mercury poisoning. No.
We're on board. We get the same wavelength.
Yeah. We're on the same wavelength, right? Any more questions about this, about anything else?
I just have a question about when
Please.
you mentioned bees as messenger of the dead. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Again, I actually thought this was like standard American folklore, but I have come to learn that it is predominantly actually African American folklore and British folklore. That, like, but it is also, I will say, ancient Greek folklore. That bees traditionally... One thing to understand is that when we think about bees, we are thinking about a very specific kind of bee. Like a domesticated honeybee.
Okay.
But most bees, right? Many kinds of bees are burrowing. They burrow under the ground. So I think that's part of it, right? But they also, like, buzz around, talking, like, they carry messages between the flowers. I honestly can't tell you why or how bees carry messages to the dead. It is quite traditional. The one thing that many people do still, like, remember of that is that when someone dies, you have to tell the bees. like if you keep bees and somebody in your family dies, you have to go tell the bees. And we don't really know why, like, people don't get it, but it's because bees carry back and forth to the underworld. They, in particular, to, like, the ancestors.
I think it's vibrational energy because of the vibration.
I agree.
Sound,
It's
yeah.
perhaps vibrational. That's smart. I hadn't thought about that. I will say that not a reason that it is true, but like an evidence that it is true, is that Persephone, the queen of the dead, is also the bee queen. Like, I don't know that that's always clear, but like she's also the mistress of flowers. Like, she is the great cycle that pushes seeds to sprout and sprouts to blossom and flowers to fruit and fruit to fall and decay back into the earth. Like that. And I know that many of us were taught about a food chain, which is the most fucked up shit I've ever heard. It is a food cycle. There's a whole other half of it. And that's Persephone, right? Like, and that's the bee queen. But that's, again, not, like, a reason, I think. It's not so much as an evidence. That vibrational thing is smart. I'm going to think about that some more. I like you. Somebody got witched. Right? So that's what I think. But that's an excellent question. I will say, like, okay, I'm also allergic to bee stings, so there's like a whole bee equals death thing going on.
It's my mom.
I probably wouldn't die.
To be fair though, when
Haven't
bee
tested
stings
it.
you, it dies as well.
That's true.
Yes.
Mutually
Actually,
assured
you would
destruction.
die if only one touched you. Like, my mom is actually allergic to bees.
Here's what I will say. I don't know that I would die if a single bee stung me. I don't want to find out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to find out. I died once and I guess I'm going to do it again, but I would prefer not to anytime soon.
To speak on that, ways to get witched without dying.
Go crazy for a while.
Go crazy for a while. Very traditional. Fuck the fairy queen. Very traditional. There is a sort of initiatory laying on of hands, like bewitched, that can sometimes work.
There is
Sometimes it runs in families.
Often, like,
So,
witch blood is
I have,
real.
yeah, so I have, because I'm fairly new in the U.S. witchery world. I come from the Caribbean, so it's really family lineage. Like, everything I know is from my family, so, like, I'm trying to learn things to incorporate into my own system, but it's really, like, I learned everything from my mom. It's not, like, a thing that I read about.
Exactly.
But it works, so.
And that's what I was saying, that is perhaps a more traditional way to do it. You know, we spent the entire history of the English language murdering anybody who said this shit out loud. And by we, I don't mean me, because, like, my folks, the Jews, were up on those pipes. We didn't do that. Some of you.
There is a tradition where for a lot of times it seems like it's like lineal, like it's by lineage, but there is a folklore called the Silver Bullet in Appalachia, and basically like a guy he falls in love with a witch. He's a pastor's son, and he goes to a coven, and he's like, "Hey, I want to become a witch." She's like, "Well, I can't make you one, but the devil can."
Right.
So, and he goes, and there's like a short process, but it's fairly straightforward. But like that's what I ended up doing, and it worked pretty well. So, or you can just go crazy.
Go crazy, you die. I mean,
Sometimes you get possessed.
sometimes you get possessed. But yes, if you want to seek out getting witched, which in my experience, the sort of person who's trying to get witched, it's because they're like teetering on the brink of it. Like they're already there, but like they maybe had it beat out of them a little bit, so they gotta like recapture it. You can go to the crossroads and make a deal with the devil. Any devil you choose, conveniently. A lot of people assign the word devil to pretty much everything, so it's pretty. You can take your choice. Like, I understand devil to be a category rather than a singular spirit.
100% could be Pan, or known as Satan, like all,
Right.
like anything that was any sort of non-Christian entity is the devil. So, yeah.
In particular, when we talk about the devil at the crossroads, and this is something that, like, usually, you know what, Crystal Karen, fine, buy my book. That's what pays the rent. But there's this one thing that really makes me mad. When you call yourself a witch, when you get witched with the devil at the crossroad, you stand in solidarity with people at the crossroad, with the unhoused, with the insane, with the foreigner, with the sex worker, with the witch, with the thief, with all the people, with the Jews, with the Romani,
Marginalized.
with Carthage, like the ancestors of black people, who, FYI, Rome also, like, obviously Carthage is not all black people history, but when Rome encountered them, right, Rome overwhelmingly called their god Saturn, right, and those are the ones they don't like. Those are the crossroads gods, Hecate. Hermes is Mercury, but that's a crossroads god, and so, like, the devil at the crossroads rode to getting, which, I don't know if you did it at the crossroads. Yeah, in your story.
So,
like,
I went down to so I actually went to this island. It's called I went to a few places, but it was on an island. I went down to a small creek on Long Island of the Cherokee, which was this little sacred place, and because it's a lot more kind of corn god, more primal.
Gotcha.
Kind of versus how your traditional man at the crossroads.
Gotcha. Right. So the crossroads. Something that's important to understand is that in a historic context, when we're talking at crossroads, particularly a witchy crossroads, we don't mean an urban crossroads. You're going way out of town to the edge of town at the crossroads, right? So there is that sort of liminality. The crossroads are the undespoiled wilds that people in cities have access to, right? That association, but that witch association, it does put on you, in my opinion, a moral obligation to stand with crossroads people.
It's definitely been a challenge here to find that. There's no wildness really. There's cultivated gardens and stuff out here, but there's no I can't go out in the woods and get lost.
The thing is, here's what I'm going to throw out there.
Well, there's some Labah woods.
There's a lot of kinds of wild. I'll tell you, I've been in a lot of wild nightclubs. I've been in a lot of wild street protests. And the devil's in all those too. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, that's also the devil. So the wild nature is one kind of wild, but it's not the only kind of wild. Anywhere where we find our interior primal self, I think drum circles. I will say personally, I think a drum circle is primal, but not necessarily wild, as the nature of a drum circle is quite rhythmic and patterned, and it's hard to get witched there, because it is a little too
that was really
brainwave in training. It's a different kind of magic, but I love them. But it is a slightly different flavor, I would personally say. But the kind of drum circle that devolves into, my favorite kinds, devolves into perhaps a lot of howling and screaming and orgy, get witched.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I do want to add too, because crossroads are my bread and butter. I love that stuff. And we have the lake right over here, so there's so many crossroads on the lake where the waves break, and there's you can see a lot of times if you take a look back, there's an ebb and flow in there where they'll kind of turn into a crossroad. Or standing on the dock that goes out there and the waves are coming forward, again there's another crossroads there. So if you can't go to the forest, going to the lake on a warm day, and going into the water.
Take care.
It's a really
I
good spot.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
We're watching that.
I'm going to keep the handouts.
Please, that's what they're for. If for no other reason than they're covered in my advertising.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm going to do a 4-minute commercial.
Hey, hey.
Thank you for paying attention. So I'm going to talk about some books. My new book, Introduction to Witchcraft. 13 Lessons in the Practice of Magic. You have learned pages...
Blessings.
10 through 20 of this book, right now. There's a lot of things in this book. This book grew out of my teaching of beginner witchcraft, both to beginners and to people who maybe feel a little stuck, feel in a rut, and just want to reawaken things. I'm very proud of this book. I hope you guys like it. I don't know what you guys sell it for, do you?
What, like the price of it?
Yeah, I literally don't know the price of this book.
Oh, just looking at it, so I was putting in the system. I think it's hold on, on the back.
Yeah, I think it should be on the.
$28.
$28.95. This is my previous book, The Sorcery of Solomon. What I will say is if you are a complete beginner, you better be a nerd. Like, this is maybe a hard book to start with. So this book is about the planetary pentacles of Solomon, a particular kind of Hebrew amulet. I think many people have this idea that Solomonic magic is like real Christian. Well, here's a fun fact. First of all, Solomon, not Christian. Second of all, the rabbis are constantly screaming about how Solomon is trucking with foreign gods.
Yes.
I love Solomon, right? The Solomonic pentacles are extraordinarily powerful talismans that are also portals. They are also tables of practice that you can use to open up a magic space. And they are also diagrams of rituals. And if you didn't know that and want to learn that, have I got a book for you? I also have a year-long course for this book, if you would like to take a course, which will restart in January, as will this course. This is a notebook, designed to go with this book. So remember what I said, that I believe the way to learn a grimoire is to copy it out by hand? Have I got a book for you? Right? It's also got, templates for drawing pentacles, and it does have some additional material in the front, including never before published lost Hebrew pentacles that, unless you read Hebrew, you have definitely never seen before. Unless you read Hebrew and called around to a university archive in Amsterdam, was like, hey, do you have this book? And they were like, no. And I was like, I think you do. Go check. And they were like, hey, how about that? I'm like, it's inside this other book. Go check.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I learned Hebrew for my bar mitzvah, and that never came up, so I'm glad that there was a caveat in there.
Yeah. So that book will be out in probably spring. If you would like that untranslated one. This is, again, just a notebook. This is a notebook intended to work with Hecate. This is the icon of Hecate from
Orphic
Hymns Grimoire, a translation from the ancient Greek of the most important collection of sacred or magical poetry in ancient Greece. Hecate, Enothea, Triaditis. You learn that one in here. There are 88 Orphic hymns plus 2 more original Orphic hymns in that book. Everyone has a coloring book style icon, right, that I encourage you to color in with your magic colored pencils to really commune with the spirit. I don't think this should have to be a caveat. The pictures, okay, it's a coloring book, so I guess you can make them any color you want. But I think you will find that they're not all white people, and some people don't care for that. So, mileage may vary. The Big Book of Magical Incense was my first/second magic book, published magical book for people, depending how you count them. This book is really intended as an introduction to potion magic. I believe the easiest kind of potions to learn with are incense, because you know how you make incense? You take some plants, and you mix them up, and you light them on fire. It's not like a subtle art, right? So if you want to learn how to craft oils or tinctures, I think incense is the easiest place to start, but really it's the same thing. There's just a technical craft aspect that you get better at. The art of the perfumer is a technical skill, but learning about plants, the virtues of plants. So the first half of this book is approximately 100 different witch plants, and I will walk you through them, not just about what they are, about how they work in an ecosystem, about what their magical virtues are, and all of that is teaching examples to tell you, if I encounter a plant, how do I know what its magical virtues are? How do I know that pomegranates are sacred to Persephone, the queen of the dead and the queen of witches? Because you can use pomegranate seeds to induce an abortion, and every abortifacient plant is sacred to the witch queens. And every plant sacred to the witch queens can be used to produce an abortion. Spirit is an old-fashioned word for chemical. That's the first half of this book. Will teach you how to identify the magical virtues of plants. If you read it carefully in order, but you can also just look up individual plants, right? The second half of the book is about maybe 60 or 70, I haven't counted them recently, recipes. I hate it when I see a magic recipe and I'm like, why the fuck is there cinnamon in this? This book will explain every choice I made about what is in that recipe, again, with the goal of teaching you how to create your own recipes and teaching you how to substitute. Bless Scott Cunningham of blessed memory. This is not his fault. Like, he didn't say this. But people have pulled this line out of his book. We're like, oh, you can substitute rosemary for any herb. Like, I don't want to eat your cooking. I don't want to taste your magic. That is not how plants work. It is, first of all, deeply disrespectful to rosemary to say that, as if she is not her own magical plant that has blue flowers, because the Virgin Mary was caught in the rain on the way to Bethlehem and hung her pure white robe on the rosemary plant, and they dyed each other the sacred blue of the heavens. That's why we call it rosemary, right? Like, plants have spirits, plants are spirits, they're all different. You can substitute, but you gotta know what you're doing. And that's what the second half of this book will teach you, is what you are doing. For complex reasons, I also have a copy of this book in traditional Chinese. When it was translated, they sent me 3. If you would like it, I will give it to you. It's cool.
I was like, I'll take it.
All right, I've been trying to find somebody to read that book for a while. That is the same book, but in Chinese. I believe... Yes, it is. Yes. My translator, Cleo, who is Taiwanese, would prefer you call it traditional Chinese. There is Taiwanese politic involved in that sentence that I don't understand at all. That's my student and translator. The course, Intro to Witchcraft, also available in Chinese from him. Please enjoy that book.
Yay.
So all of these books, if you would like to buy them, I would like to eat. The end. Thank you guys so much. I am also happy to take more questions. The ones with stickers are all already signed, but I will sign anything else you want. And I would... Oh, if you're buying from me from Cat... Okay, look, the Intro to Witchcraft books, these belong to the store, so you gotta pay them. Everything else you gotta pay me. 30, 40, because I gotta ship them from England. But it's worth it.
You know, there's any money like you're taking in
20 for notebooks.
that was he's super special. Oh my god.
30, please take it.
Okay.
I mean, you can give me money if you want. I'll take it. Oh,
I got out of every. I
Still your
did
sister.
I dated.
I thought you were already gone.
Don't worry.
Oh, money.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I know it was a joke,
just keep
but also,
surprising me
like,
with the small
I
space.
guess I get rid of it over.
I'm sorry that happened.
What?
Oh, sorry, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I love that we get to
Texting,
say
it's
this and that no time. We both love saying that, and we both met like the best place possible in both of us, the dance.
Cash would be great.
Because we both
I'll
want
also
to
take Venmo or PayPal or
classic moments that we kept each other's eye, across the phone, and then like eventually kind of